Hey folks, welcome back to the code Chic. In today's video, I'll be taking you through CSS Box Model. By the end of this video, you'll be able to understand what CSS Box Model is, CSS Box Model properties. We shall look at the content, padding, border, and margin. At the end of it all, we shall have a simple practical example. In CSS, the term box model is used when talking about design and layout. When laying out a document, the browser's rendering engine represents each element as a rectangular box according to the standard CSS basic box model. The box model is used to create a definition for the way the HTML elements are organized on the screen. So what is CSS box model? CSS box model is a box that wraps around every HTML element. Each element can be thought of as having its own box. Understanding the term box model makes more sense once it is visually displayed. As you can see from the image, we have four properties of the CSS box model. We have the margin, the border, padding, and content. So the content basically contains elements. This could be paragraphs, images, or anything. The padding section, this basically sits in the space between HTML content and the border. The padding can be altered through its related properties. For example, padding can be changed through directions like padding right, padding top, padding left, etc. The border property keeps the theme separation. The border is the ending line of something. The border extends the padding area to include the elements' borders. The thickness of the borders are determined by what we call border width or simply border properties. It extends to the outer edge of the border. Then lastly, we have the margin. This area extends around the box model, taking the empty space between the margin and the border properties. You can consider this as a buffer area that separates the interior of the CSS box model from the other HTML elements on the page. So margin is the outermost layer wrapping the content, padding, and border as white space between this box and other elements. Its size can be controlled using margin and related properties. For example, margin top, margin bottom, margin left, and margin right. So the border is basically the area between the box padding and margin. The dimensions of the border area are the border box width and the border box height. Padding, the thickness of padding is determined by padding top, padding right, padding bottom, left, and also shorthand. You can use padding properties as mentioned earlier. So the content, basically this is where you put everything on your web page, images, texts, and many more others. So let's look at a simple example describing all the four properties of the box model. Let's open our VS Code. So let's create a new HTML file and we call it boxmodel.html. So let's create the HTML structure and make the title box model guided example. So this is our web page. Let's open it side by side. Alright, so we are going to put dummy content. Let's call it h1 box model guided example. So below the box model, let's add a paragraph and add in dummy. So let's create a div element, and inside the div element, let's put another dummy content. So now we have two different elements. Now, first thing, we are going to style the div. I'm going to do this I'm going to use internal CSS. So we just come just within the head area and let's write our style tag. So we are going to target this div, this particular div that has the second paragraph. So we just write the tag name, open brackets. The width gives the area. The width adjusts the size of the box. Then let's add in another property. Let's call it border. So let's give the border 20 pixels. And then we give it a color, a solid color. And let's call the color red. So from the previous explanation, this is what the border does. Now let's look at the other properties of the box model, that is padding. So we simply come here and add padding, and give it 20 pixels. So in summary, the padding extends the content area, the border extends the padding area to include elements border, and the thickness is determined by border width or shorthand border properties. Margin area is the last property outside of the box. So let's increase the margin area and see. Let's increase it to 50. You see the box moves a bit. This moves the entire box. And lastly, the content, which is basically the the text inside our box. The box model is essential parts of CSS and developers must learn it. So thank you so much guys for watching. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more web development tutorials. See you in the next video.